Hi, and welcome to the Get Real podcast, where CEOs, CMOs, and communications experts share their real advice. It's 6 questions under 9 minutes because we get to it real fast. And I'm your host, Anna Crowe, and I'm really excited to introduce our first guest today. So, David, could you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Anna. I am David Lewis, and I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Demand Gen. And we are a consultancy and help people with the methods and technologies for driving growth, platforms from Adobe, Salesforce, and other leading marketing and sales technology companies.
Awesome. And David, you and I, as you know, had a chance to connect a couple of months ago and chat a little bit about leadership and authenticity, which we'll touch on in a few minutes. So I'm excited to have you on my show now and repay the favor.
Yeah, it's great to be reconnected.
Yes, definitely. Can you tell me a little bit about what you think is the best thing about being a leader in your space and in your industry?
Well, growing up in marketing, when I graduated college, the tools and technologies and even the methods that we use today around digital transformation, I didn't learn then. I didn't learn in school, and so it's been really fun to develop these recipes of success and be someone to go out and teach others, people that have walking in the same path that I have walked in, marketing leaders, sales leaders, and marketing and sales practitioners. So I just really enjoy, I have a strong commitment to education and personal development. So my whole focus is taking the lessons that I have learned and been helping clients with and teaching them to as many people as possible.
That's awesome. And you have such great tools that you utilize. And, you're telling me a little bit about your YouTube series, which I know we can touch on in a little bit, but that's great. You and I kind of chatted too about how noisy it is right now. And there's just so much going on in the world.
Yeah.
And, and I hear from other leaders such as yourself that creating genuine connections, those authentic connections, whether it's your customers when you talk about marketing or your team members, can be challenging with everything. What's your take on that and how are you handling it?
I always approach outreach from a perspective of how can I help that person with the opportunities or challenges that are right in front of them. So like, for example, one of the things I do on LinkedIn, where I have a pretty extensive network, is I'm looking for people that are moving into new jobs. And as soon as they take on these new roles, reaching out to them and congratulating them, but going further and saying, I've got some PowerPoint tools for you. I've got some workbooks and tool sets that might be useful as you're now responsible for laying out your blueprint of what you're going to do. Because I understand the role of, like, when you move into a new position, you're expected to come up with a game plan. So my outreach is really about helping them get settled into their new role and helping them paint that vision of what they're going to be doing there.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. I mean, you're really leading with value. How can I help you? And I think that's such a great way to create that trust and relationship, because you're not really asking for anything. You're just really sincerely looking to help others, which is really admirable.
I don't know whoever said it to me, Anna, but I've always kind of followed the philosophy of don't show up to sell, show up to solve. And if you just find that path authentically, truly authentically, the connections that you make and the people that you help along that journey are always appreciative of that. And if a client engagement comes from an interaction that I have with someone, great, but that's not where it's not in the front of my mind. And the front of my mind is, how do I make this person a hero? How do I help them be successful in their career?
Yeah, I love that. That's really great advice. And on that topic, is there any other real advice that you'd like to give to others? Something else that you think is important, especially right now?
Sure. Whether you're dealing with your employees or whether you're dealing with a client or a partner, I just always approach, as you can see in the back, I've got a lot of heroes back there, and it's our mission of a company is making marketing heroes. But just carrying that forward to your question is just always understand that you're not the hero, and that the person that you're working with or dealing with or coaching, they're the hero. How do you make them on their journey successful? When you approach life, whether it's building a team, your own business, or working with a client with that mindset, even public speaking, the audience is the hero. It's not you. It's a very different approach to the conversation. And I find it probably one of my best leadership pieces of advice.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I know when you and I chatted on your podcast, we talked quite a bit about developing leaders and just where young people are today. And I think that's such a great takeaway, especially for people climbing the ranks and for people who are going from being an employee to a manager to having a bigger leadership position, to having that mindset and to change that. So thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And before we move to our kind of a fun question, is there anyone else, any other successful leaders such as yourself that you'd like to shout out or think should be on this podcast?
A lot. Some of the people that jump to the top of my mind are people that I've been inspired by and worked with. Alex Shootman, I'm a big fan of Alex. He is the CEO of Workfront and just a great leader. Love his communication style with employees. Also, Heidi Malin. Heidi is Alex's chief marketing officer at Workfront. And you mentioned my podcast earlier. Her episode is the #1 episode, which is around, confessions and advice from one of the top CMOs. So Heidi and Alex certainly come to mind as leaders over at Workfront.
Awesome. That does sound great. And I'd love to get in touch with them down the line. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, then moving into our final and kind of a fun question, I always like to know from people where they got started or how they got started. It's often that I find the primary jobs are, may have nothing to do with where you are today and the business that you've built. So it doesn't have to be your very first job, but can you tell us a little bit about one of your first jobs and, just a little memory share?
Yeah, absolutely. My first job out of college was working for a software company that we all know, which is Microsoft. And even though I'm not a really big company person, the lessons and experience at Microsoft were invaluable in terms of a springboard for my career. But I think the really interesting part of that is how I landed at Microsoft, which was I had a passion for the Macintosh, and Microsoft was coming out with Windows at that time, and they needed people who had a certain expertise. So there I was, 22-year-old kid working on the US sales and marketing team at Microsoft and going out and evangelizing the use and adoption of a Windows-based operating system and Windows applications. So it's a great lesson that it really doesn't matter how old you are. It matters what you can bring and what you can provide to an organization and to their clients. But it was a phenomenal time at Microsoft for the several years that I was there, and certainly a springboard to everything that I did thereafter.
Wow, that's very cool. And yeah, I find it's always very helpful to have such, such big brand experience, especially as you go into the marketing field further and see how things are done at big businesses that have, built from ground up and just became really successful powerhouses in their space. So that's really cool that you got your start there and obviously paved the way for you quite a bit. And you were able to, I'm sure, take away some of the things you learned to today, even to being a leader today.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, David, for being on. How can people get a hold of you?
I'm super easy I'm very accessible and super easy to reach. LinkedIn's probably the best way. Just search for David Lewis. There may be a lot of us on LinkedIn, but if you go to Google and search David Lewis, especially if you add David Lewis Marketing, you'll find me, but pretty easy to find. And look forward to connecting. As you mentioned, I've got a podcast, which is Demand Gen Radio, and we have Demand Gen TV, which is our YouTube channel. So love to connect and meet other people there as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being on, David.
Thank you, Anna. Take care.
This is Anna Crowe with the Get Real podcast. For more insights, visit us on crowepr.com. Thanks so much and make it a great day.